Let's talk about an email nurture workflow sequence. The thing I've really been focused on right now for a couple of the campaigns that we're launching is we're doing these information guides. So a free PDF or a free booklet, a free report that includes a bunch of super high valuable data for that character avatar. So for example, we're running one right now. The decision maker person we're going after is a parent who has like a really competitive athlete, and this idea of like the D1 starter pack. So here's this strength and conditioning program, 6-week or whatever program for personal training to help get your kid to the next level. So that's like the top of funnel thing. The lead magnet that we're using for that is a strength coaches play one for a D1 scholarship, the training plan that separates recruits from the rest. So if you give us your contact information, we're going to email you and text you this guide, right? It's just a bunch of high value content that one adds a ton of value for that prospects out there from a program standpoint, but then also a nutrition aspect. But then also we've got embedded in here calls to actions when they're just reading through this. They're like, my gosh, this is really awesome. I want my kid to be a part of this. And they can click here and that will take them to book a consultation call. Boom, right there, which will go to a link for personal training, right? But what I've been finding is so far in the workflow, I really only have one outreach email and I needed a lot more nurturing. So I'm sending the prospect that email, but once they get the guide, there's really no other follow-up after that, right? So the purpose of this video is to talk about like what's the behind the scenes lead nurture email sequence. And it's not just like, hey, following up, see if you got the guide. It's like a whole robust system built on adding value and establishing authority and credibility. So when that person reads each one of these touch points, they're much more likely to like say, wow, this is super legit. I want to be a part of this. So what we're looking at here is this is the deal pipeline stage, right? So I've got my new lead. In this particular campaign, I've got phone call 1, 2, and 3, and then follow up. So our mission on the sales side is we're trying to contact that new lead 3 times within the first 24 hours of them signing up to learn more. So in the morning, we've got a call block, afternoon call block, and then the evening, we've got a call block. And we're double dialing on each time with all those people, right? So you can see if I had a new lead, they would come into this new lead. When they come in, we're automatically emailing them the guide. And then the setter is just dragging these contacts. They're double dialing and dragging that person through. So by the end of phone call 3, they've gotten 3 calls within their first 24 hours, and they've built the guide, and they've gotten the guide, which brings me to this step right now on the follow-up lead nurture sequence. So I'm in HubSpot right now, and if I go to my automations, you'll see that I've built in each of these automations. Each of these pipeline stages have different automations, right? And the one I'm focused on right here is this follow-up sequence, which I'm going to bring into a sort of a bigger look here in the back end of HubSpot. Now, what happens here is this prospect's going to get this email, which will be catchy subject line, the harsh truth about getting back in shape. And it's just really sales oriented, but high adding value copy that if this person is reading it, they're thinking, wow, this person really understands my pain points. They're adding some value of like what I could do and implement right now. And then I've got a call to action if they decide that they want to, hey, I want to talk to this person actually now because I feel like they could help solve my problems. So I've got 7 of these emails, right? If I can get somebody to open these emails, if I can get them to read the guide, they're going to be that much more qualified and teed up to talk to our sales rep instead of that sales rep just having to kind of prospect and do a lot more work on their own. Let's warm that lead up so they're pretty much ready to buy if they're going through and consuming this content. So on this part right here, I've got, all right, I'm setting up the problem. You were an athlete. And most people that go to the gym did the same stuff that they did in high school and college, but it doesn't work anymore. I hear it all the time. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm not getting results anymore. What we move that into is we say, hey, if you're saying that, here's some things that you could implement right now. So strength and power training, I give some context on that. Speed and agility work, I give some context on that. Mobility and recovery, so on and so forth. They get high value stuff that they could implement if they want to go and do this on their own. But what it is also doing is foreshadowing all the value that we could provide and the problems that we could solve. And then I say in this line here, this is exactly what we do inside of our 6-week former athlete program. We click here to claim the free consultation, which books them to which takes them to a landing page to book a call. But I'm also selling the call. So just because it's a free consultation doesn't mean that people are going to jump on it. Oh my God, I need that. It's free, right? Everybody offers a free consultation. So what we're doing here is we're selling this as like a one-on-one strategy session. We're saying, hey, on this call, this is why you should book it. We're going to analyze your current plan in your diet. We're going to give you a custom game plan so you can talk about like, hey, with your goals, how can I actually get there? We're going to find out some of your biggest roadblocks so you stop wasting time on what isn't working. And we're going to show you the exact structure of our 6-week program so you get like a peek behind the hood of how this is actually going to work for you. And then I've got another call to action right down there at the bottom. So each of the emails over this 7-day lead nurture sequence is going to follow that. Hey, customer pain point setup. Talk about some actual value add that they can do, that they could take action on, and then say, hey, by the way, this is exactly the problems that we solve for these prospects. Click here for the consultation, but then I'm also selling the consultation. And once you just make that one time, you just copy paste it in the below emails. And look, if that prospect is going to be opening these emails, that's the thing. You got to get them, they got to be able to open the emails. So if it's going to spam, if you're getting like sub 20% open rate, you got to figure out a way to get that up by more compelling headlines, etc. But what you're doing is the system is automating and nurturing that prospect, giving them a chance to click a button and go to an offer and to talk to a sales rep. And if they're reading that content, they're going to be that much more prepared and ready to go. So and it should be an easier sale. So I'm really excited about this framework. Now I want to talk about how I got here. We created this guidebook right here. This is one asset of mine. Then I've been pretty deep in Dan Kennedy's email nurture sequences and things like that. So I took some of the Dan Kennedy emails that I've been getting for him trying to pitch me on this free download or free product because he's the GOAT. And I'm going to see like, okay, I take those emails, I copy them, I put them in a document. I take my strength coach's playbook, I put it in a document. I go over to ChatGPT and I say, give it a prompt of like, hey, I'm writing a 7-email lead nurture sequence. I want to do it Dan Kennedy style, but I want to use my strength coach D1 playbook as the actual content and the angle for how we do this, but I want the same sort of 10 commandments and 10 rules that Dan Kennedy uses on his direct response copywriting. And then you dump that all into ChatGPT, say, use this as a raw material. This is the framework. It's going to spit back some of these emails. It might be good right off the bat. And then you might be able to say like, hey, tweak this or change this, or hey, make this. We got to sell the call to action more because book a free consultation isn't that compelling. We need a little bit more of a push there. And you just sort of fine tune that and boom, you're done with your lead nurture sequence in, half hour to an hour. And now you have an asset that's working for you. And any other lead nurture sequences that you go on to make, you can come back to this content. You can say, hey, let's use all this same framework right here. The character avatar that we're going after is now, instead of the parent of an aspiring D1 athlete, it's now a everyday Joe that is a former athlete that wants to get back in shape but fell off age 25 to 45, and you frame that character avatar up a little bit more. You leverage all the stuff that you've made on this lead nurture sequence, you feed that into ChatGPT. Now the emails are customized again. You take that, you move it into your lead nurture email sequence, and it's the same thing. If that person is opening those emails, they're that much more likely to actually find value in what you're saying and raise their hand and say like, I want to do business with this person because they've shown me they know their shit.